If you're in college and you feel emotionally distant to literally all of your friends, even though you spend all of your time together, that could be the exact thing that's working against you. Seeing people 24/7 sets you up for this kind of mindset mistake to make in friendships, where if you feel like you have a high proximity with someone, you also have a high connection with them, and that's just not the case. Making the mistake of considering this proximity as a direct causation for emotional intimacy is something that literally every single person does, and I wish I knew this when I was starting out my college journey, because if I did, it would have saved me a lot of time. You need to understand that in reality, physical connection does not breed emotional connection. By the end of this video, you will know how to tell the difference between familiarity and real friendship. You'll also know why this issue is such a problem for literally every single college student, and yes, I do mean everyone, as well as what to do about it. One of my biggest issues is that I didn't recognize this proximity mistake because I didn't know how to identify it. So before we go any further, I want to identify some common things that I know I felt, I know of a lot of other people who go through this feel, and just some little feelings that might point you in the right direction of naming what's going on. This issue might represent itself as feeling confused when your emotional friendships don't deepen. It can also look like feeling distant despite constant interaction. Oftentimes, this can manifest itself as anxiety because your friendships feel surface level and transactional, and you might not be able to figure out why you mean anything to this person or this group of people. In other words, you might not know why they want to be your friend in the first place, and if you're anything like me, that confuses you and gives you a lot of anxiety. And this last feeling is pretty vulnerable for me, but I felt a lot of resentment for the people that weren't reaching out to me over breaks or when I would travel for my sport, or if we just went a few days without seeing each other. I would feel a lot of resentment for these people. It was like if they didn't have me in their line of sight, they would forget about me. And I'm studying neuroscience in college, and a lot of this has to do with psychology, and I learned about this concept that we pick up on really early on into development, which is called object permanence. And this is basically just the knowledge that something is in a location even if you can't see it. This is why peekaboo works on babies, because they don't know about object permanence. They don't know that their mom or dad is behind the cupped hands in front of their face. But obviously, as developing children, we pick up on this really quickly. Unfortunately, this doesn't always translate in a figurative sense into relationships and friendships, especially in college. I personally think I have a pretty high level of object permanence with my relationships, but I also understand that I have a very low tolerance for people who don't. I think it's really rude when people just forget about you or make you feel forgotten. And obviously I'm not talking about extenuating circumstances, it's just in a general sense. It hurts when someone who spends every single day with you just suddenly stops and you don't really know why. This happened to me a lot, especially the first winter break that I had my freshman year. I realized how many people truly just talked to me because I was there, and when I wasn't there, they didn't care about me enough to reach out. So that definitely hurt my feelings, especially as the friend who grew up constantly reaching out to other people. If this resonates with you and you always had to be the outgoing friend, please check out my video about why we shouldn't let people take advantage of us in friendships as extroverts, but I will proceed. Overall, there are a ton of different things that can happen once you mistake proximity for emotional intimacy and security in a friendship, and a lot of these feelings are universal. A lot of people deal with this. The expectation here is that the proximity that you share with someone is going to create connection, but in reality, it doesn't. Proximity only creates access. And while you ultimately do gain the benefits of ease and simplicity and convenience when you're picking your friends with this standard in mind, you're missing out on all the other standards that can be had in a mutual friendship, like respect, shared values, character, trust. Ultimately, genuine compatibility is what's at stake when you move towards friendships with this in mind. An author named J.T. Miller from The Medium writes about just this. A convenient friendship is exactly what it sounds like. Convenient. It's convenient due to the proximity of the relationship on which it was formed, but as it goes on, that friendship isn't really a friendship at all. Having friendships that are strictly built on convenience, where you're missing out on those compatibility components, are really hard to navigate. They can leave you asking several questions about your value, your worth, why you mean anything to them. Questions like, why do I still feel unknown in this friendship or insignificant to this person? Why do I feel like I'm nobody's best friend? Why do I feel like all of my friendships are surface level or transactional to some degree? Or even just a generally painful, where am I going wrong? What did I do? Sonia Vadlamani from happiness.com writes, one of the biggest changes that will happen with you and your college friends is that most of them will move away and you won't be able to hang out with them at a moment's notice. Their time is allocated differently. Whether they're living in the big city or they're back home with their parents, the dynamic instantly changes. That comfort zone that once existed based on how geographically convenient they were to you no longer exists. Now you have to put in the effort. At first, you'll both try hard to continue the friendship, whether it be through text, Facebook, hashtag throwback posts on Instagram, and so forth. Then, one or both of you will get busy with your lives and maybe get a job or a relationship that takes up a lot of your time. I genuinely felt this so hard whenever I was dealing with this in my underclassmen years. I'm a junior right now, but this definitely plagued my freshman and sophomore year of not understanding that I was strictly going off of convenience or perceived convenience of who I thought I should get along with the best, but in reality I should have been thinking deeper into the long term and asking myself, how is this person going to add something meaningful into my life, and can I add anything meaningful into this person's life? Unfortunately, this mistake is promoted by a large social incentive that's as easy as college is really hard. College is some of the most difficult years that people will go through up to that point in their life, and speaking from firsthand experience, it is easier in the short term to just say, hey, I'm gonna go hang out with the person who lives in my room or right next to me, rather than actually waiting, finding intentional friendships, and making a meaningful connection that might take longer to make. College is hard. That is a central theme in basically all of my videos. And unfortunately, the easiest thing to do most of the time is the path of least resistance. This is also a cultural thing. I mean, the lifestyle that you have in college that you share with everyone else on your campus is a perfect place for a mistake like this to be made. You share classes with these people, friend groups with these people, even dorms with these people. You might live with these people. You eat together, you study together, you live together, you shower together. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be close to the people that are around you. If that's going to work for you and you get lucky and the people in your close vicinity are the people that you're really compatible with as friends, that is a great thing. I'm just making this video because most of the time that's not the case, and a lot of people should have had warnings whenever they were going to college. I feel like I need to make just a huge series of everything I wish I knew when I was entering this experience that I had to learn the hard way, so hopefully you don't have to. But again, huge disclaimer for this video, if you are just friends with the people that are closest to you and that works, great. This is just for the people who fall into the vast majority of cases that this proximity doesn't lead to compatibility, that there's no compatibility to be found in these friendships, and ultimately they are dysfunctional and harmful to people's lives. No one teaches you how to transition from a routine interaction to an intentional friendship because of this unspoken standard that that's just going to happen eventually. Unfortunately, that's just not true. Psychologically speaking, the short-term immediate benefits that you get from doing this do not offset the long-term negative consequences. Like, while you do get low-effort socialization and you might immediately have a friend group on the first day of classes to sit with at lunch instead of having to find your own table in a corner of a dining hall, and that might feel good in the moment, in the long term, these friendships don't last, and you're just going to be settling for shallow, surface-level connection, when your 20s are not a time to have shallow connections with your friends. You should have deep friendships that compose a huge network of ingrained support in your life. That should be the goal that you have, not to have as many friends as possible, but to have the highest quality of friends as possible. It is really hard to find true friends that actually root for you, to your face and in rooms that you're not in. But that should be your goal. If it's not, you'll end up staying way too long in friendships that just aren't for you. And honestly, most of the time what happened to me was I overestimated my emotional safety and security. I trusted people who weren't trustworthy, I hung out with people who weren't fun to be around, and I settled for friends that just weren't deserving of the kind of quality of friendship that I was trying to offer. Going through this the hard way gave me a lot of strife and stress, and I'm totally sad that that happened to me, but I'm honestly really grateful because now these experiences enabled me to make videos like this where I can actually share with you how to think about these issues and how to navigate this problem. First and foremost, you have to understand that the only way you're going to mature the intimacy and connection that you have with your friends is based off of shared trust and experience, not convenience, proximity, or familiarity. Not because your last names were randomized to put you in the same hall your freshman year. Not because you pledged for the same sorority house. Not because you're in the same athletic group or club on campus. Not because you were randomly shuffled into an orientation group. You need to choose your friends in a smart and adult way, and you need to value them and prioritize them based on who is trustworthy, who is reliable, who is a good friend to you, not just oh, who lives down the hall versus across campus. You deserve better than that. And also, the right people aren't gonna care if you're not convenient to them. They're going to want to be your friend anyway. They're gonna put in the effort anyway. Honestly, I really wish I knew this, that natural selection is a good thing in your relationships, and if something's not meant to work out, it's simply just not going to. I have a best friend who doesn't even live on my campus, and my campus is just really small and everyone lives on it except a handful of people. She's one of the only students that's off campus, and she lives 20 minutes off campus, mind you, and we are the best of friends, and I see her multiple times a week. A perfect example of this being a success story is that we met in January of this year. So if you're watching this as I'm filming it, it's December of 2025. We met in January of 2025. It hasn't even been a year that we've been friends yet, but she has never withheld prioritization from me. She has never done anything to break my trust. She constantly shows up, she constantly matches my energy, and she values me, and I know that we're compatible on an intellectual and emotional level rather than compatible in who lives close. Like I said, we met in January and it's December. I'm an on-campus resident on my college campus, but my house that I live in with my parents during breaks and where I'm going to live after college is 3 hours away from my college campus. But my best friend is coming over this weekend, or I guess tomorrow actually. She's coming over tomorrow to visit me over winter break because we just don't want to go a month without seeing each other. She texts me just as often as I text her. We're going to spend an amazing weekend just catching up and going shopping, having fun, exchanging Christmas presents, and I genuinely cannot express how happy I am that I learned this lesson about how to just wait for the right person to come into your life, because the right person is going to visit you. The right person is going to be present with you. The right person is going to be bothered when they don't text you. The right person is going to stand next to you during the biggest moments of your life. The right friend for you will love you. The right person for you is out there. You just have to be brave enough to reject what's convenient, reject what path of least resistance you want to take right now, and find out your worth that you undoubtedly have, and then figure out who else can recognize your worth and whose worth do you recognize. It took me 19 years to find someone who I truly feel like matches everything about me as a friend. I believe in soulmates, and I definitely believe in platonic soulmates, but I didn't always, and it just takes one person. I don't want to cry. This is a serious issue because people constantly settle in friendships and you don't need to. Oftentimes the friendships that you're settling for are not high quality. They're not friendships that make you feel good. They're not friendships that serve you and allow you to feel safe and seen and heard and loved. And it genuinely just takes one step towards bravery and one person to make a difference in your life. The reason I'm getting so emotional is because I'm talking to myself from 2 years ago, from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago, that little girl, that little version of me who just longed for someone to care about her, longed for a sister in life, longed for a friend that was your best friend, longed for someone who you could talk about anything with and would love you and care about you. It's pretty obvious that I've always been willing to offer love and high quality friendship to people, but it has been extremely hard to find that, and it was even harder because I made the mistake of settling way too fast. Way too fast. I literally settled the first chance I could. It's honestly comical how fast I settled into the wrong friendships, and then I kept repeating those mistakes when those friendships would fail, and I'd wonder, why aren't my friendships working out? It's because I had no standards that I was willing to actually enforce in pursuit of finding a real connection. Just be willing to prioritize the people who treat you the way you want to be treated and reach out to you when it's not convenient. The path of least resistance is fun in the moment, but it doesn't actually tell you anything about who matters to you and who you matter to. The path of least resistance is fun, but it doesn't build anything. It doesn't build mutual trust. It doesn't build character between two individuals. It doesn't build that network that you have to have in your late teens, early 20s, college years of support. This video doesn't only apply to college students. I just can't think of another situation where a bunch of 20-year-olds would be stuck in a hall together. I don't know. I mean, this could apply to any kind of situation in any phase in your life. Don't settle. The reason that this works is because it creates accurate standards for your friends. This doesn't just help you, this helps the people that you would have settled with. It gives you more realistic expectations in your relationships across the board. I'm not going to sit here in this video and say that convenient friendships are useless. I have tons. I love having friendships with everyone I'm around, especially the ones that I'm around the most. That's fine. But having the expectation with myself that I'm not their best friend and I don't have to be actually frees me to just be relaxed around them. Let them into my life when they're around and politely understand when they're not. And it also allows me to have this expectation with my best friend of she's gonna text me in the next 48 hours like she always does. We can't go 3 days, 4 days without texting each other because we absolutely adore each other. If you ignore this and you only have convenience-based friendships in your college years, by the time you graduate, I just have this very probable sneaking suspicion that the likely outcome is that all of your friendships that were built on shaky foundations strictly on convenience are not going to last. And by the way, I'm not the only one that thinks this. Howard Rudnick from the Elite Daily writes, "It's fine, maybe they were busy, maybe next time, are some of the excuses or observations that you may repeatedly find yourself making about these friends when they let you down. And while it's not healthy or warranted to seek constant validation or acknowledgement for all the help you've rendered to them, deep down, you may know this already. You deserve better. If you've often felt this way, then it's more than likely you're just a convenient friend for those people." Listening to this, understanding this, prevents an overinvestment for an under return. One of the greatest challenges of my life is figuring out how to make high quality friendships, and I sit here frustrated that it's taken me 20 years to figure that out, but there are people in their 40s and 50s and 60s and older who have never once figured this out and who have always settled in their friendships and maybe even their relationships, and I urge you, don't make a habit of this. You are way too young to be worrying about that. You don't need to settle. And even if you're not young, you still don't need to settle. We all have standards. We all have goals, desires, wants, and needs. And we all are deserving of the pursuit to find friends that will give us friendship in the way that we want to receive friendship. And we should also be able to find people who motivate us to give friendship in a high quality, kind, uplifting, reliable, consistent, and trusting way. This is a super meaningful video for me, so I hope it was for you as well. I loved creating it, and I genuinely wish I had a time traveler so I could go show this to me at 16 or 13 or even 10. Like, I genuinely wish I learned this sooner. So I hope it helps you, and I hope you heed my warning so you don't have to learn it the hard way. But as always, I am so grateful for your time. I'm honored to have you listen to even a little bit of what's on my brain all the time. And if you like this video and you want to stick around, I urge you to like and subscribe because it genuinely helps me so much with the algorithm, and I genuinely feel like more people need to hear this message, so that would do me a service and other people a service as well. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!